Hello everybody, and welcome back to episode 3 of how to make and publish your first ever video game. And today we have a lot to get done. In the last video, we made it so our character can jump, but right now it can't go back down. It can jump midair, it can kind of fly. It's very messed up. So today we're gonna be fixing that jump. And we're gonna be just making it so it can only jump when it's in the ground, when it's touching the ground, and it can be touching anything. If you wanted to touch like maybe this certain object, your character can't jump unless you stand on this object, or maybe you want to do some like water that your character can jump on. It will work with anything. Or if you wanted to be able to jump everywhere like Flappy Bird, then yeah, that is fine as well. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is create a ground check. So we need to check if we're standing on the ground. We're gonna go over here to the hierarchy and create empty. Right here we can right click it and rename. And I'm just gonna call this ground check. And then we're gonna go ahead, drag this on to our player. Okay, now that it's on, you see it's an empty. An empty game object is pretty much empty. It's really nothing. What we can do to empty game objects is add a box collider 2D. Now you can actually see the object. If we click on this here, now we can kind of transform it to where we want to go, and then we can use the move tool to bring it back up to our character. So now that is how big. You can make it as big as small as you want by just clicking those 3 triangle buttons on the side right here. I'm gonna make it a little slimmer so he doesn't like float. You can make it really slim just for so you guys can see this a little better. I'm just gonna be making it pretty thick. I would recommend making it thinner though if you want your character to actually look like they're touching the ground. But there is also ways that we can make it as thick as we want, and that's probably what we're gonna be doing, and it won't look like it's floating. Anyways, now we're gonna go to add component, scroll down to new script, and we're gonna call this script ground check. And yeah, so we're gonna click on create and add, and then it'll be right here, but it's also gonna be added to our game object, so we don't have to worry about that. We're gonna double click on it and open up Visual Studio. Okay, here we are. Now, you can see this is our jump script and that we made last episode, and this is our new script, which is going to be our ground check script. And okay, so you can see that we have a void start and void update. Before we touch that, we're gonna create a variable, and I definitely recommend watching the second one if you haven't, because I kind of already went over this stuff. But we're just gonna type in game object, and then we can call it whatever we want. So let's see. A game object, by the way, is just a it's the game object in the game and object in the game. We're gonna go ahead and call that game object player to be able to access our player, our little slime guy, into the script. Now in void start, we're gonna set player, and we want that our player to be equal to game object, and so instead of just being a game object, we need to set how it's a game object in void start. So our game object, once again, our object inside of the game. And yeah, so but it's not just gonna be game object. We want to do a game object dot transform, and transform pretty much just creates the dot parent and then dot game object. The transform just kind of creates the it's the transformed object. So you can see that in the inspector window. And the parent dot game object just means it's a parent of the ground check, which is this right here. Now we're gonna create our own void. So you can see we have void start and void update, but we want to create a void on collision enter 2D. You have to spell this exactly right. It should just come up to click on, but make sure there are no spelling errors or this is not gonna work. We can go ahead and get rid of that private void. We don't need it to be private. It doesn't really matter though. I don't like when things are private, unless they really need to be. But now we're gonna write an if statement that we went over last episode. We're gonna do if collision. So if we collide, dot collider, which is our collider, like a box collider, dot tag. So tag is pretty much like it's kind of like its second name. you can kind of think of it as. And then we're gonna make sure the tag is ground. So we can just do some parentheses and then inside of those quotation marks to make that orange looking text. And then we're gonna put some curly brackets and just hit enter to get this down here. So now we're gonna say if we collide with a tag of ground, player.getComponent and jump, because whatever your script is up there, because you can see the other script I wrote before was called jump, and since our player, we're gonna drag that on in and make sure it's a player. Well, actually we don't have to do it because it's already the parent. But anyways, we want to make sure whatever your script was called from last video, put that where I put jump, and then we're gonna do is grounded equals true. So we did a whole is grounded thing, except that was just something we could turn on and off in the inspector, not if we're actually colliding with the ground. This is the easiest way I know how to go off of this, but there are other ways. But we're gonna go ahead and copy and paste this with paste or Control V, and then what we need to do is we need to change enter to so we're gonna go ahead and highlight enter and then delete it, and we need to change it to exit. If we leave the ground, we want to set is grounded to false. So down here we can set it to false. So pretty much now this is saying if we touch the ground, then our is grounded is true. And in our last script we said if we're grounded, then we can jump. But if we're not touching the ground, then it's false. So therefore it's not grounded and it can't jump. So now here are the tags that I was talking about. You can see that it says untagged. If we scroll down to the bottom, it says add tag. We can go ahead and click this plus button and call this tag ground. Then we save. The tag, we want to make sure it's the exact same as the text that we put before in the parentheses. But now we want to assign it, because it's not assigned even though we made it. We have to go all the way back and assign it to the tag of ground. So now let's see if this works. So we can jump. I'm actually clicking in the air and we can't jump. We can only jump on the ground. That's exactly what we want. You can see that it is floating a little. So there are a couple different ways to fix it. But a really easy way just for beginners is just something to understand it. I wouldn't necessarily use this in your own game, but you just make it slimmer. But anyways, here now we're just gonna copy and paste this code from our old script, and so this is our last script we made, the jump script, and we're gonna just copy and paste our old if statement. But we want to also this is completely you don't have to do this. So if you want to, if input dot get mouse button down, so then we can say so this means that it's pretty much saying that we don't just have to jump. So we want to make sure we put a 0 in there. That means if we don't have to just press space to jump, we can also click with our cursor or our hand if you have touchscreen. So now if I'm not pressing space, I'm clicking the cursor and our character jumps. So now we can do this with our character jumping. So anyways, thanks for watching today's episode. Tomorrow or next episode, we're gonna be adding in enemies to give this game a real challenge. But now we have a working jumping character. And if you want to see the next one, I know it's been a while since I've made this one. If you want to see the next one come out faster, how about put speed in the chat, in the comments, and then you can just like write whatever you want to and just put speed on the top and bottom of the text, put it somewhere in your text, and then I will try my best to get this out the same day that you're watching this video. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.